The signal began as a faint whisper in the dark, buried beneath cosmic noise and forgotten echoes of dying stars. For generations, the Virene civilization had searched for salvation beyond their failing world. Their sun was collapsing and their oceans had turned to glass beneath waves of radiation. The great cities, once proud pillars of light, were now hollow shells filled with silence. In desperation, they built the beacon, a transmitter forged from the last remnants of their once great fleet. For decades, it pulsed into the abyss, sending the same plea again and again. Is there anyone out there? For centuries, no one answered. Then one day, the signal changed. It came softly at first, so quiet the Virene scientists thought it was interference. But soon the pattern repeated. It wasn't noise. It was language. And it came from the third planet of a small yellow star on the edge of an unremarkable spiral arm. The name of that world, they would later learn, was Earth. The message was simple. It said, "We heard you." At first, disbelief ruled the Virene councils. No one expected an answer after so long. But the data was clear. A young, energetic species had received their call and responded. The Virene watched as humanity's ships, still primitive by galactic standards, began venturing into deep space. They sent probes, then crews, then entire fleets. Humanity had only recently discovered faster-than-light travel, but already they were pushing far beyond their borders, driven by a hunger that defied logic and fear alike. To the Virene, humanity was a miracle, and to humanity, the Virene were a challenge. When Earth's astronomers deciphered the distress call, they found coordinates leading to a dying system. The news ignited every nation and alliance on Earth. Old rivalries faded as humanity united under one idea, that they could reach the stars not as conquerors, but as saviors. Thousands volunteered to join the Exodus Project, the largest interstellar rescue mission ever attempted by mankind. It took 30 years to build the fleet. The first wave consisted of 50 massive vessels, self-contained cities of steel and hope. Each one carried the weight of Earth's promise. As they departed orbit, the skies over Earth shimmered with light and song. Billions watched as humanity, for the first time, reached not for expansion or conquest, but to answer a cry for help. When the Virene saw the human ships appear in their skies, they wept. The humans didn't look like gods or angels as Virene myths once imagined. They were fragile beings of flesh and willpower. Their ships lacked the graceful curves of Virene design, built instead with sharp angles and scars from long journeys. Yet when they spoke, their voices carried strength. The human commander, a tall man with tired eyes, stood before the Virene Council and simply said, "We came as fast as we could." Under his command, the human fleet deployed vast arrays of machines to stabilize the Virene sun. They built orbital shields to block radiation, terraforming stations to cool the scorched land, and generators to replenish the atmosphere. For the first time in generations, the winds of the Virene world carried the scent of rain. The Virene children watched in awe as human engineers worked side by side with their scientists. The humans laughed, sweated, and bled as they labored, never complaining despite the harsh conditions. They slept little, ate less, and kept going as though the suffering around them was their own. The Virene soon learned that humanity had once known desperation too. Their histories told of plagues, wars, and famines that nearly broke them. Yet somehow, every time they fell, they rose again. When a group of Virene elders asked why they had come so far for strangers, the human commander smiled faintly and said, "Because once, we were the ones who cried for help." No one answered. "We swore we would never let that happen again." Months passed. The human presence transformed the dying planet. Great towers rose where ruins once stood. The sky turned blue again, and the oceans slowly returned. Hope bloomed in places long forgotten, but salvation always draws shadows. Beyond the edge of the system, the Dominion, an empire that thrived on subjugation, watched with unease. They saw the rise of the Virene world under human aid and feared what it meant. To them, humanity was an anomaly, a species too young to wield such compassion, too daring to remain unnoticed. So they came. Without warning, a fleet of Dominion warships tore through the void and entered the system. The Virene defenses were no match for them. Fire rained from the heavens. Cities burned again. The human fleet scrambled to respond, outnumbered 5-1. The human commander gathered his officers. There was no panic in his voice, only a quiet resolve. "If we fall here," he said, "then the void learns that kindness can die. We cannot let that happen." They fought. Human ships formed a defensive wall above the Virene capital. Dominion beams sliced through hulls, but the humans held their ground. They used every tactic, every ounce of ingenuity, every drop of courage. The battle raged for hours, then days. One by one, human ships fell, their crews refusing to retreat. Even as their systems failed, they rammed the enemy head-on, taking dozens of Dominion vessels with them. When the flagship Endeavor was crippled, the commander sent one last transmission to the Virene Council. "Finish what we started. Live. That's all the thanks we need." The Endeavor's reactors overloaded, and in a flash brighter than dawn, the Dominion fleet was torn apart. When the light faded, silence filled the skies. The human fleet was gone. Only fragments of their ships drifted among the stars, glowing faintly against the void. The Virene mourned them as heroes. They rebuilt their world with the knowledge the humans left behind. Centuries later, the towers of the new Virene capital bore human inscriptions. Children learned human words as sacred phrases. The phrase "we heard you" became their anthem, carved into monuments and sung during every festival of remembrance. But the story did not end there. Generations passed, and the Virene thrived once more. They spread across the stars, guided by the memory of those who had saved them. Wherever they went, they listened for voices of despair. And one day, in the silence of deep space, they heard a faint cry from another world. They didn't hesitate. They built fleets, forged alliances, and sent aid ships across light years. When the suffering species asked who they were, the Virene replied, "We are the ones who were heard. Now we listen." Yet deep in their archives, a mystery endured. Long-range scanners sometimes picked up strange signals near the edge of known space, frequencies that matched old human patterns. No one could confirm their source, but they persisted, repeating the same line every few months. "We're still here." Some said it was an echo from the past. Others believed humanity had survived, rebuilt, and continued its journey across the stars. The Virene never stopped searching. Then, one quiet dawn, a new transmission arrived. It was faint, distorted, but unmistakably human. It said, "We see what you've become. You learned well. Now it's your turn to guide others." The message came with coordinates. The Virene fleet followed them to a region of uncharted space, where they found a massive station orbiting a blue giant. Its design was unmistakably human, titanic and awe-inspiring. A single phrase glowed across its hull: "The light that listens." The Virene approached carefully. The station opened its hangar doors. Inside stood figures in suits of armor marked with the insignia of Earth. Their leader stepped forward, removing his helmet. His face was aged but kind, his eyes bright with the same fire the Virene remembered. "We heard another call," he said, "and we thought you might want to help answer it." In that moment, the cycle was complete. The saved had become saviors, and the legacy of humanity had become eternal, not in empire or conquest, but in compassion. From that day, across thousands of star systems, there was a saying whispered by travelers and settlers alike, a saying that crossed languages and borders. When the void answers, it speaks with a human voice. And somewhere, far beyond the stars, the echo of that first message still lingered, faint, steady, unending. "We heard you.